Welcome to another episode of the 13 News Now Sports Overtime Podcast. We are joined first and foremost by Brian Smith. Now, when I've noticed a pattern, whenever I see Brian Smith all the way zipped up, I know that some heat is coming. Brian, welcome.
No, actually, steam is just coming out of my head right now. No smoke here, no steam.
Yeah, we'll
I'm just percolating.
We'll see about
You're
that.
healed?
Also
Are you healed?
Does
that mean you're healed? Yeah, does that mean you're healed?
You're never healed. They're in the middle of trying to find a head coach with the Knicks. I mean,
we'll get there. And listen, we're also joined by Shane Fordham. We made it 18 seconds before Knicks talk started. We're also
you started this, not me.
We're also joined by Shane Fordham. Shane, do I see a little bit of jury? You got a little bit of jury on today, Shane?
Relax.
Don't hide it.
Relax. I don't like to show it off in a business professional setting.
And I of course am Connor Real. If I ever tried to put a piece of jewelry on, I think it would just burn my skin. I just don't have the body for it. I don't have the aura for it. So totally jewelry-less over here. And of course, we start with the NBA because, fellas, we have a series on our hands. Against all odds, the Indiana Pacers are up 2-1 on the 68-win Oklahoma City Thunder. No one saw this series sitting at 2-1 Pacers after 3 games. We begin, as we so often do, with Brian. Just, Brian, your reaction to last night's game 3.
I am not surprised. 2, I believe you gentlemen had them winning 1 game. I had the series going 6 because I have at least a little respect for the Pacers. I still think the Thunder is still in 6, now probably 7 at this point since they're now trailing in this series. But no, you guys didn't even give them a chance. I was like, no, just because you have 68 wins, yes, that is an indicator that you are the best team that is out there. Are you playing like it? The Pacers are the ones who are playing like they've won 68 games. And it's just, for me, I'm not surprised. They're playing as a team. And Tyrese Halliburton is being Tyrese Halliburton.
Now, in game 3, I do believe that the Pacers played like the better team. It was not a fluke. It wasn't a crazy game winner. It wasn't a fourth quarter flurry. But let's not forget that in game 1, the Thunder were winning for 47 minutes, 59.7 seconds. And then in game 2, they won. So while the Pacers played better in game 3, I don't know that I'm ready to say they've played distinctively better in this series. I mean, they won 7 of the first 8 quarters of this thing. Shane Fordham, your reaction to game 3?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think not the main story of game 3, but a big part of it were the early turnovers by the Thunder in the first half. I think the Pacers capitalized off of sort of the somewhat sloppiness that Thunder demonstrated early on in the game. But then, talking about main stories of game 3, I really feel like this series is a competition of whose bench is going to play the best. We talk about these two of the deepest teams in the NBA. They've proven that is one of their biggest strengths, especially looking at the Pacers, the rotation that they have. It's really just been a competition of, okay, whose bench is going to outscore who? And in game 3, there's no question the Pacers bench won that battle because this is a war. It's a war. It's they won the battle, but the war is still going on. It is still being fought. But Pacers bench definitely won this battle. I mean, in the first half, I believe the bench had 30 of their 62 points in production. And then in the total game, Pacers bench outscoring the Thunder bench 49 to, I believe, 18. Just crazy. I mean, just a great night for the Pacers bench. Starters played well too. Obviously not taking anything away from Hallie, anything away from Nesmith, from Pascal, but I think the bench definitely deserves a lot of credit for this W. Specifically Mathurin.
No question. And let's give a ton of credit. We had to refute Brian Smith right off the top, but we want to make sure that we give a ton of credit to the Indiana Pacers. It's time to start respecting them. The fact that I think a lot of people were even able to get this far while still questioning the Indiana Pacers, I don't think there's any question that you just can't deny that they're a championship quality team at this point. Up 2-1 in the finals against the Thunder. There's just no denying it. I had pretty much denied it up until last night. And now we simply must accept the fact that the Indiana Pacers are a championship level team, regardless of how the rest of this series goes, I think, to be up 2-1 in this thing. Shane, you mentioned the bench. Benedict Mathurin, 27 points. And it feels like when Benedict Mathurin gets the ball, it feels like just in general, Benedict Mathurin believes that this finals is a showdown between like him and SGA, right? He gets the ball and he just seems like he thinks, okay, cool, my time to dominate the finals. Now, it didn't always go his way in the first 2 games, but that mentality, I feel like, allowed him to have this breakout game 3. And then Shane's boy, the former Philadelphia 76er, TJ McConnell. What a game for TJ McConnell. I don't know that I've seen very many times where a team scores and then now they're back on defense and a player just turns around and snatches the inbounds pass out of the air, which McConnell did at least once, and he stole the inbounds like 2 or 3 times. So you're dead on, Shane, that the bench was absolutely critical for this Indiana Pacers team. But hey, I thought their starters played extremely well. I thought Tyrese Halliburton, after 2 games where he seemed hesitant to take over from a scoring perspective, one of Shane Fordham's biggest sort of critiques of him, this game he said, okay, even if maybe they're not great shots, I need to take shots. Even if the defense isn't necessarily giving me that, I need to force the issue a little bit, and I need to take shots. He was much more aggressive in the first half. As we said, is the engine of that team, and when he got going, it allowed everybody to get going, and they came out on top. Now, Brian, I want to ask, would you say that Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams were disappointing in this game? Because we talk about how good the Thunder bench was, or the Pacers bench was, but I thought the Thunder starters underwhelmed a little bit.
Well, Chet Holmgren, granted, he had 20 points, but from what I saw, in the 6 of 15, not good. 0 for 6 from 3. I was just looking at his numbers. Jalen Williams, 26. He was 50% from the floor. I just think, looking at numbers, because numbers don't lie in some cases, Pascal Siakam did his thing, 21 points. But you know what I noticed too? Obi Toppin. Guys that it's the ones that you don't really pay attention to. He's making a difference right now. 8.6 boards, but he had a thunderous dunk that really kind of propelled them.
You saw him prepare for that. He was so ready for that. He geared every single piece of himself. He had no intention of catching a pass. He was like, I'm running at the basket.
Exactly.
And two-hand dunking this. Yeah. It goes anywhere off the rim. Now, Chet Holmgren had an okay stat line, but I thought he actually had a dominant stretch early. And then I thought Holmgren really faded in the fourth quarter. I thought that he really, really struggled in that fourth quarter, and it played a huge role in the Thunder not being able to impose their will. And then Jalen Williams, kind of the flip side. I thought he struggled early. He was able to get it together a little bit, but I thought his struggles early, he missed 4 free throws. He was -9 in the plus-minus overall. He didn't make the type of impact that he has made when they get big wins in the playoffs. Shane, were you disappointed in Holmgren and Jalen Williams' output? How big of a role do you think that played in this game?
I think they definitely did fade at certain points, but I mean, this Thunder team has been a winning team all season, but they've also had an issue in often converting in the fourth quarter for consistently throughout the season as well. But they've still been able to win in spite of that. They've been able to win in spite of that because of the production from their bench as well. And that's not something that they had last night. Their bench got significantly outplayed by the Pacers bench. I think that's a bigger problem than necessarily Chet fading in the fourth and Jalen Williams maybe getting off to a slower start. Now, while those are problems, those are things that need to be addressed. This is still a better version of themselves than what we have seen throughout this postseason. Jalen Williams off to a very slow start at the beginning of this postseason, often being absent a lot of nights, not really even realizing he was on the floor because of his lack in production. Chet Holmgren, he got off to a rocky start this series specifically, only 6 points. So they are doing what the team has needed them to do production wise to give this team a better chance to win. The big three were all above 20 points last night.
But
so
but I didn't feel like
I will say this. Let's give some credit where credit's due. Defensively, the Pacers really put it on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They did. I was looking at it. Yeah, he had 24, but he was 9 of 20 because he had somebody in his grill. I think we need to understand that Indiana's giving Oklahoma City a dose of their own medicine. That's, I think, is more poignant right now. You mentioned the bench. We've been talking about Oklahoma City's bench. Pacers are saying, hey, we got one too.
I want to respond to, and 100% B. Smith, I want to respond to what Shane was saying. Holmgren had a good stat line, but when in the second half, I really didn't think he played well. And then Jalen Williams, 4 turnovers, Shai, 6 turnovers. Williams had his moments, and I appreciated that. It felt like Williams was struggling, but he pressed the issue, and he was able to get some things going, and he did lead the team in scoring. When it comes to the NBA Finals, you're going to have those games where your bench goes crazy. But oftentimes, if you're going to win a title, those dudes have to play really well, and they have to play consistent. And going into the Finals, that was like our big thing was if the Thunder are going to lose, it's probably because those two guys aren't ready for this stage. But like you said, Shai's worst game that we've seen in a little while. I mean, 6 turnovers, struggled shooting the basketball. Yeah. Is there something that I think Doris Burke brings up every 4 to 5 minutes on the broadcast, which is that Andrew Nembhard and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have known each other since they were 10 years old. They're both Canadian. They've been playing each other for years. And Nembhard's been doing a pretty decent job, as good as you can do on Shai defensively. It's a fun nugget to bring up. Shane, how important do you think it actually is that these guys know each other really well? Do you think Nembhard is actually leaning on that experience, has a little bit of a better sense of how to guard him? I mean, how crucial is this? Because they bring it up constantly on the broadcast.
I think that can be very crucial, having that type of experience, being able to know the ins and out of your opponent's game, as well as Nembhard has, both being an opponent of it, but also being a teammate of it. I think that's actually helping a lot or going to help a lot in this series. I think we saw some of that last night. It's kind of like, when you would grow up, Connor, I'm sure you experienced this playing basketball against your brothers, or your brother, every day in the summer. Yeah, just the one playing against him, every day during the summer in the driveway. Yeah, playing against my cousins in the driveway. Obviously we don't. Having that familiarity against a player, you kind of know. Okay, he likes to go right with this move. He likes to go left here, and this spot in the driveway, he usually likes to pull up. I think Nembhard definitely has that sort of experience on a far superior level, honestly, as compared to me and you, Connor. But I think Nembhard has that similar sort of understanding to Shai's game. And I think that's a great point to bring up by Doris Burke. I mean, she's known for bringing up great points, the GOAT and Miss Burke. But yeah, I think that experience is going to do a lot for Nembhard, but also just his defense collectively.
He's a good defender in general. For me, my brother had the low release. He had the low release. He's a good shooter, but low release. So I knew if I kind of got on top of him, a little hard for him to get that shot off. And Shane just said Doris Burke, known for making great points. Shane, I hope that's how you describe me to your friends as well. I'm assuming that you do. Brian,
depends on the day.
Childhood knowledge, overblown, or do you agree with Shane? This is a big deal, and it's really mattering.
Every little bit of information that you have on one of your best friends growing up is an advantage. So you take advantage of it whenever possible. If you are a true competitor, it doesn't matter. It could be your boy from back in the day. If I know whatever, Connor, Shane, if we grew up together and I know what I know about you, I'm using it against you every chance I get. This is for an NBA title. I don't care.
Yeah, oh yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off there, B. Smith. B. Smith would be pitching to his grandson, and he would brush him off the plate. That's what he's high to get him off the plate. But if dominated, I thought SGA was dominant in game 2 and played really well in game 1. So how much of a factor? It's fun to bring
but that's just because Shea is just that good. Like it's in general, the game of basketball, it helps when you have that extra knowledge and experience on your opponent. Like if you think about it, that's something Michael Jordan used to do often. Like sometimes he would make friends off the court specifically so he could know more about you and have that sort of comfort with you. So
that's sociopath Michael Jordan playing psychological games.
We'll go back further. How about Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell? They would have dinner together whenever Bill came into town.
You guys are talking about the mind. I'm talking about
Russell and Chamberlain were friends.
Yeah,
but when they'd have dinner. If Bill came down to Philly, Wilt would go, "Hey, come over for dinner." If he was up in Boston, Bill would say, "Hey, let's go out, let's grab some dinner," and then he'd kick us behind.
But that's a predator luring his prey into his trap and then pouncing on him. What they're describing is that Nembhard knows his moves, and that is making a difference, right?
I think it falls under that same sort of region. I think it's all in that same family of familiarity with your opponent, whether it's psychological, whether it's physical. I think they're both very similar, but they're also both beneficial, I think.
Okay, let's do a little Halliburton check here. Shane, update on your Halliburton views. Are you ready? Halliburton was incredible last night, in my opinion.
He was.
One rebound away from a triple-double and was so in control. And for him to respond after 2 really tough games, the game winner for sure, but outside of the game winner, 2 tough games for Halliburton, for him to have the sort of mental perseverance to respond, I'm more impressed with him every single week. Shane, do you at least consider him to be a decent NBA player at this point?
First of all, that's crazy. The fact that you would even allude to something so preposterous is insane to me. I've never disrespected him. I think I've never
heard lightning in the background.
His family is looking for you based on how much his dad's gonna wave the towel in your face next.
No, I have always said Tyrese Halliburton is one of the stars of this league. He is definitely the best player on the Pacers, and he's shown to be. I
kept the text messages.
All I said was
release them.
But all I said was I didn't believe he was a superstar yet, which I still don't think is the case. Like I still don't believe he is a bona fide superstar right now. I think he could be. I think he could make that step next year, as early as next year, possibly.
What if he wins Finals MVP?
Yeah, how about in 10 days?
We're talking ifs. We're talking ifs. You can't.
What
say,
if he does?
You can't say. You can't say if he wins Finals MVP and he didn't even win Conference Finals MVP. So you can't make that jump. Well, let me stay on short. Let me stay on point here. I will say Tyrese Halliburton is phenomenal 100%, especially when, like you said, Connor, he triggers in his mind, okay, let me be aggressive here. Let me be aggressive early. That's really the one of the main things he's been missing, is having that sort of aggressiveness, especially earlier on in the game. But with that being said, he is still definitely one of, if not the most clutch player in the NBA right now, in my opinion. I mean, I definitely think he makes a case for that conversation with this postseason, but I don't think this postseason alone makes Halliburton a superstar necessarily. I think he could. I think it's just we haven't seen it for long enough, in my opinion. I think this year, though, if we are to see sort of this same Halliburton throughout the regular season, then that's a different story.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a different story.
NBA Finals MVP.
But you just in the finals just dominated games.
You're bringing up a stat that hasn't happened yet. You're using a stat in your argument that hasn't happened yet.
Smith, this is the nicest he's ever spoken about Halliburton. I know. We're making progress.
But that's been my main.
So badly.
But that's been my main point, though. I never said he was trash. Y'all acting like I said the dude was a scrub. I said dude is a stud. He is a bona fide stud. One of the best point guards in the NBA.
Wait a minute, hold on. Didn't you do a rank tank that said Tyrese Halliburton 5 points that he's overrated.
He called it Hallie hate.
I did not say overrated. I did not say overrated.
Call it Hallie hate.
That was a summary of what the topic was.
A summary of your thoughts.
Y'all know how the rank tank titling works. I can't fit 5 reasons why Hallie isn't a superstar in that title space.
So
I had to shrink it down to fit in
the level of Hallie.
I think we made our point, Brian. I think we've made our point. All right, let's move on.
You have grown, my friend. You have grown.
But this is all I've been saying. This is all I've been saying. All I have been saying was that Tyrese Halliburton is not a superstar yet. He will be. He's just not yet. He is making his way there. That's all I've been saying.
Progress. All right, let's move on to Game 4. Game 4 has suddenly become one of the most intriguing games that we've seen in a long time. I mean, this is absolutely massive. The Thunder are still big favorites in most of the sports books, but now they got to go into Indiana, and they have got to win a road playoff game in one of the most difficult places to play. A must-win game on the road in Game 4. Give me some predictions. What do you see from the Thunder? What do you see from, their superstars? Give me your SGA prediction. Give me your Thunder prediction. How do you think Game 4 is going to go? Shane, go first.
I definitely think the 3 heads of the snake in Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet, they have to take better care of the basketball. And they also have to be more consistent, especially the closer they get in the fourth quarter, specifically in the fourth quarter. That's been a problem of this team throughout the regular season, kind of executing in the fourth quarter. They've just been a lot of the times just so dominant and talented, especially with their bench play. Sometimes that has made up for their lacking in the fourth quarter. But as you all pointed out, this is the NBA Finals. That is when it matters most, when gameplay matters the most, is the fourth quarter. I think it definitely has to start with the head honchos, especially Shea, taking better care of the basketball. You can't have 6 turnovers in an NBA Finals game as a superstar and expect to win against a team like this Pacers team that capitalizes off of every single mistake that you make, has a coach that'll capitalize off of every mental mistake that you make in Rick Carlisle. So I definitely think it starts with them. But then you do.
Hold on now. That is what should happen. What does Shane Fordham think will happen?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that will happen.
You think they're going to take care of the basketball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the problem. That has been the problem. I think we will see that sort of resolved in this game. Because like you said, they definitely need a road win. You can't let the Pacers take one in your house and you not go to their house and do the same thing. You can't let the Pacers come to your house, put their feet up on the kitchen table, and you not go to their house and start turning on the TV, controlling what's being watched. So I definitely think we're going to see that sort of switch in Game 4. I like how we are seeing Chet be aggressive earlier on throughout this series. I think that aggressiveness, though, needs to carry into the second half, which I believe it will. But I also think we're going to see more production from the bench as well. It's not often we see this bench underperform like we did last night, especially in comparison to the Pacers bench. We're definitely going to need some more shots from Isaiah Joe. Definitely going to need some more shots from Wiggins. Isaiah Hardenstein, definitely going to need more from him. 8 points, was decent on the boards. He allowed, obviously him being on the floor allows them to do different things. His ability to facilitate, rebound, score.
I did think Hardenstein struggled last night, though. That was as bad as I've seen him play in these playoffs. He only played 18 minutes, 3 rebounds, no blocks. I mean, minus 4 points. Isaiah Joe only played 4 minutes. Wiggins only played 10 minutes. He was 0 for 2. He struggled right out of the gate. So Hartenstein, you want to see Hartenstein play more, but Hartenstein needs to play a little bit better. I think would be really key for them.
But see, I think what's throwing that off is this line. Like for some reason now, they are now starting Case and Wallace as opposed to Isaiah Hardenstein, kind of trying to match Pacers small ball.
I mean, look at the team they're playing. The Pacers have everyone on the floor can shoot. A lot of guys on the floor can handle. They move the ball so quickly. You want to have that super switchable defense out there. And for 7 out of 8 of the first quarters, it worked well. They were smothering the Pacers.
Yeah, but you're changing. I don't
bail on it just yet.
But from the Thunder standpoint, you are changing your winning recipe to now like accommodate the Pacers. Like I feel like they're kind of now making themselves play the Pacers game brand of basketball as opposed to making the Pacers play their brand of basketball. With Isaiah Hardenstein on the floor, it allows Chet to do a lot of different things within the offense as opposed to playing as a traditional center. Because now he doesn't have to be as responsible on the boards. He doesn't have to be as glued to the paint, as he does when he is not on the floor, being a 7-footer. You know what I mean? So I feel like, and then when Chet is able to do more, I think that spreads the floor more for Shea to be able to create. We know he's a mid-range paint guy himself. Lets Jalen Williams have a little more freedom around the perimeter as well. I feel like this line, them switching the lineup is kind of throwing this off for them as well. But yeah,
I think defensively you want Chet to be a little closer to the basket defensively. And the problem is anyone that he's guarding on the floor can pull him out of there. I mean, because the Pacers have nobody that you can just sag off of. You can't play free safety on any players on the Pacers, really. Now, I will also say that 16 assists for the Thunder. I think they need to get that ball moving a little bit because Jalen Williams and SGA are so good at slowing the offense down and going one-on-one. It seems to me like their offense can get bogged down a little bit and can get a little stilted. And then some of those great role players that you have are not as involved. And maybe that's part of the reason that they're not as productive. A lot of times it works because SGA and Jalen Williams are so good at that. But when you get to the NBA Finals and you come up against a team that plays with this pace and plays with this ball movement, maybe they need to get the offense flowing a little bit more is maybe a little bit what I'm seeing. B. Smith, give me your Game 4 prediction. So Shane has the Thunder winning, and he has them taking care of the ball really well. And maybe
specifically the bench playing better as well.
Fellas, I think we may be forgetting a point. One, the Thunder had a chance to steal one, and they should have stole one in Game 3. They should have. I think we're seeing. I definitely believe they should have, and they didn't.
You think they should have won last night? I thought the Pacers just straight up outplayed them.
Well, you know why? It's because of their head coach, Rick Carlisle. Why? Rick Carlisle has an NBA title. Rick Carlisle knows what it's like to be in a position where he is the underdog. He did that when he was with the Mavs against the Heat. You're seeing a similar set of circumstances. You mentioned they're playing small ball. Well, that's because Rick Carlisle figured something out, something that Oklahoma City better make sure they make adjustments on and that's where the coaching comes in. He did that against the Knicks. And honestly, fellas, I hate to say this, but I have a funny feeling they're going to take care of home. And I think they're going to go up 3-1. That's my opinion.
So that's a big prediction. I knew that the zipped up. I knew once I saw that turtle. Now, I think Rick Carlisle is a great coach, and I think he's doing a great job as he always does. But Rick Carlisle can't make Benedict Mathurin go for 27. Rick Carlisle now he did leave Siakam on the bench for a couple of long stretches, and
it's about making adjustments, and he's doing the better work at making adjustments right now. You mentioned they're going smaller. Well, it's working right now. It's affecting their bench. They're playing better. What bottom line comes through on something like that?
The Pacers do this thing where, yes, they play small, but their guards are big and tough, right? So Nembhard and Nesmith are out there.
They're physical.
Guys are big, and those guys are tough. Yeah, they're guards, but they are big, tough guards that maybe it doesn't always feel like you're playing small ball. That's what I thought the Lakers were going to do. But anyway, I thought we were going to get from the Lakers. Ben.
I knew there was going to be a Lakers reference in this one too.
No, I know. We made it 20.
Maybe next year.
I personally think that the Thunder come out. I think they get the win. I think that offensively they just have a lot more flow. I think they settle in. They remember how good of a team they are. I think SGA has a big game, and I think we go back to OKC tied up at 2-2. But the thing is, I'm so glad. I can't wait for this game. I didn't think it was going to be like this. I really thought that after one game, 2 games, that we were just the Thunder were going to have it wrapped. So I'm just excited to watch some basketball. But we need to move on to a sport that we haven't talked about much over the last 2 weeks. It's time for a little football talk. We got voluntary OTAs, mini camps, it's all happening. We have players on fields. We have players, not in pads, but in jerseys. at NFL organizations, NFL facilities. Now, not all the players are in NFL facilities. We've got a couple of holdouts. We're going to get to them, but we must start with Brian Smith and Shane Fordham's favorite team. We must start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right. The team that Shane Fordham and Brian Smith called contenders for the duration of life.
We knew we were going to bring this up.
That Brian Smith and Shane Fordham said we're going to be better than the Baltimore Ravens. That is where we begin because they've got a quarterback. That quarterback is married. That quarterback remains a weekly guest on Pat McAfee, I think. I haven't tuned in a little bit. That quarterback is named Aaron Rodgers, and he is now a Pittsburgh Steeler.
B. Smith's favorite quarterback of all time.
Yeah, right. Not in this or any lifetime.
Who is your favorite quarterback of all time?
Oh my gosh.
Namath.
He happens to be by the name of Joe Willie Namath.
The
The original guarantee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite quarterback post 2000?
Ooh.
I think I know the answer to that too.
I mean, it's between Lamar and yeah, with the Chiefs. Yeah.
Lamar and Mahomes.
Ooh, that's not who I thought you were going to say.
No, those are two quarterbacks I've really enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane's is Kevin Kolb.
Stop it.
Don't
you dare mention that plague on this podcast ever again.
Wow.
And whoa.
I was thinking Nick Foles. That's just me.
Kevin Kolb could play a little bit. Don't do that. Don't do that to Kevin Kolb. Now, Aaron Rodgers going to the Pittsburgh Steelers 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, this is a seismic move in the NFL. Now, 2025, heading into 2026, it came with a little bit more of a whimper, right? Aaron Rodgers torn Achilles and then a really tough season in New York. Off the field, he has become a really major headache. So he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. The Pittsburgh Steelers have seemed for a couple years like they might be a quarterback away. Brian Smith, do they have that quarterback?
Well, if you check and listen to what Mike Tomlin, Newport News native, former William and Mary guy, say, check his resume. It's a Tomlinism. I agree with him in the one sense. Yeah, check his resume. But if this resume were 5 or 6 years ago when he was with Green Bay, oh, heck yeah. Now, they better protect him. Because I don't think that I don't think he could be effective. That's just me. What I saw in 2 years in New York, and I think I hope Aaron Rodgers has learned his lesson not to pull stunts that he did while he was with the Jets, because Mike Tomlin is a no-nonsense person. He has a ring like he does.
Well, Robert Saleh is not a no-nonsense person?
No.
So, B. Smith, I agree with you that Mike Tomlin is a no-nonsense coach. And I agree with you that Mike Tomlin commands respect throughout the NFL. And I agree with you that Mike Tomlin has managed some of the most difficult personalities that the NFL has ever seen. Shout out Antonio Brown. However, I don't think Aaron Rodgers cares. I don't think he cares about anything. I think that he's going to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Now, I also believe that he knows that maybe this is kind of his last shot. And I think that maybe deep down he does want to, once and for all, kind of prove one last thing in the NFL after the disaster that was the Jets. I don't know if that's the case, but if he were to, not go on a trip during team activities, right? Or not do a podcast if they ask him not to do a podcast, I think it would be because he wants to make his final shot work rather than because Mike Tomlin is able to control him. I just think Rodgers has proven too many times that he's kind of beyond that point. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, and whether he is or not is not the argument here. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers very strongly believes that he is right all the time. And I don't think that anyone can convince him otherwise. He's got a heck of a resume to back up that mindset. But I think that that's how Aaron Rodgers thinks. Now, again, we're just speculating. I've actually never met him, believe it or not. But I just think that he thinks he's right all the time. And so if he disagrees with Mike Tomlin, he's just going to think that Mike Tomlin is incorrect in that instance. But I do think he has an immense amount of respect for Mike Tomlin, and I think they have a great relationship. And I think maybe Mike Tomlin also has sort of that Phil Jackson quality where he understands when to give a little with superstar players. I'm not saying it won't work, but I just don't know that Aaron Rodgers is necessarily going to bend the knee to Mike Tomlin just because Mike Tomlin is such a no nonsense coach. But it's an interesting pairing. Shane, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't see this being a much of a productive season at all, to be honest with you. I don't I think
I love the way you said that. I couldn't tell where you were going to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I mean, kind of like you said, Connor, I think there's definitely a respect there, more of a respect than what he had for Saleh, maybe even more of a respect than what he had for LaFleur, maybe in Green Bay. But I don't think with this version of Aaron Rodgers that we have seen over the past couple of years, I mean, I just don't think, even if he does just fully cooperate, and that's a big if with Tomlin, I still don't think the ability of 2025 to 2026 Aaron Rodgers is going to be enough to be able to, you know, make or help this offense contend with a Ravens offense, you know, with a Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, a D-Hop offense. You know, I don't think it's going to be enough to contend with even a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase offense, even if there is no defense on the field when they're not on the field, you know, because we know that's a whole nother topic on here. But, you know, I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, it may contend with the Browns. It may contend with the Browns, to be honest. But I think they'll be fine with the Browns. But I don't think I don't think for the AFC as a whole, I don't see this Steelers offense making much of a run at all. I would be shocked if they even have a winning season this year, even breaking over 500. Like, I would be shocked if it's a positive season this year. I just don't see it.
Oh, and Connor, I would not insult the term disaster with the Jets. That's insulting the term disaster. It was far worse than that.
Well,
but I digress.
And when it comes to that, I'm not, in terms of his play on the field, I'm not ready to count him out just yet. Okay, B. Smith, what your favorite thing? What you said, Tomlinism. One of my favorite B. Smithisms is you're always quick to remind everybody that it takes 2 years to come back from a major injury.
Yep, I agree.
ACLs, Achilles, it takes 2 years to come back. Well, it's been 2 years since he tore his Achilles. We've also seen, sorry, B. Smith, but we saw Brett Favre go to the Jets and be super disappointing and then go somewhere else. You know,
I think he'll have a better. I think we all agree. I think he'll definitely have a better offensive line in Pittsburgh than he did while he was in New York.
And here's another way to look at it is, and again, my sincerest apologies. I say this with a deep amount of love.
It's okay.
Every quarterback is a disaster with the Jets. That's why they got Aaron Rodgers, because they were like, maybe this guy, we got to get someone who's not going to be a disaster. And I don't mean
with ownership.
So getting away from what is currently a really tough organization to succeed in, plus 2 years out from the injury, plus what you would hope is the added motivation of a professional failure, you would hope that all of that would come together to mean that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the best he can be at 41 years old. So I'm not ready to discount him on the field just yet. Can he put all the off-the-field stuff to the side enough to perform in Pittsburgh? And then you brought up the key point. Can that line protect him? And I'm not ready to count him out just yet as a productive quarterback in the NFL and a quarterback that could get to the playoffs with a really good defense. DK Metcalf out there, Najee Harris. I don't know. It's not that impressive of a group of weapons either. But I'm not completely out on Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, if Aaron Rodgers, the dude, can keep the main thing.
So mean, you kind of the end of your statement, Connor, is kind of what I was going to point out. Even if Aaron Rodgers is a better version of himself, right? Kind of like Russell Wilson coming from the Broncos to the Steelers, being way more productive than, what we thought he was going to be, us on this call, what the general football world thought he was going to be last season. You know, even if Aaron Rodgers is that or close to that or maybe a little better than that, I don't think they have the explosiveness on offense to even really be able to
all of a
support
sudden
whoever's on offense.
turns on the Steelers. He's out on the Steelers.
It's a different year.
Last year we fought a lot of battles. We've won the war. All right. Finally, James Fordham is off the Steelers. I got a question for you guys. Better all time, Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers? Who's higher ranked all time as a quarterback when you look resume to resume? Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers?
I'll say Aaron Rodgers.
It's easy for me.
I mean, I'd lean towards Rodgers because of the MVPs.
Okay, all good. I got Rodgers as well. Those 4 MVPs, the same amount of Super Bowls. Yeah, so I'm with you guys with Rodgers.
And he's more talented.
Yeah.
He's more naturally talented, though Brees, I think, underrated maybe a little bit in terms of natural talent. Here's the factor, though. When it comes to in that locker room, Drew Brees, based on what we saw during his career, was one of the most gifted leaders of all time.
Yeah.
Another B-Smithism, that's a big part of playing quarterback.
Yeah.
It seems like looking back, was Aaron Rodgers that? I guess it's hard to look back and discount the things that he did. Maybe it's tainted a little bit by some of the controversies he's encountered later in his career. But Drew Brees was the leader. You know what I mean?
To quote the great Terrell Owens, Aaron Rodgers, he would say, "I love me some me," because that's where Aaron Rodgers kind of is.
It seems like, based on our perception, maybe Drew Brees was a more selfless player, a more selfless leader, more relatable to the guys. We weren't in those locker rooms. I hate diving into that, but that would be the one argument for Drew Brees, in my opinion, when it comes quarterback to quarterback. You guys say,
I've never heard a report of Drew Brees being a poor teammate. I've heard that about Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So that's something at least I think fair to even think about, at least.
Do you guys
just the possibility?
Do you guys go Manning over Rodgers all time? No question. Does Rodgers have an argument with
yeah.
Yeah,
Manning
for sure.
over Rodgers, yeah.
Peyton Manning,
all right,
for
no
sure.
question. Easy for us today. Easy for us. How about Roethlisberger, Rodgers? Any argument for Roethlisberger there?
I'll take Roethlisberger.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
B. Smith, Shane.
2 Super Bowls, that says a lot.
I know those MVPs mean a lot to me, though. And the Steelers are the consummate. Though the Packers have always been a very steady organization as well. Roethlisberger was winning Super Bowls with one of the great defenses of all time. Paul Amala, Ryan Clark, James Harrison, and those guys over on that other side. It's Rodgers for me, Shane.
That's tough. I mean, he had the elite defense, but he has that sort of that winner
run that offense
because of the rings. Yeah, he was the ultimate field general, though.
All-time defense. Those early 2000s Steelers defenses, all time.
Yeah,
the ones that would be heavily fined today.
If I had to, legacy wise, I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers. I mean, 4 MVPs is just ridiculous. Like that, you have to,
He was the best player in the league for a huge chunk of time when it came to the regular season.
And he still has a ring as well. You know, he's not totally ringless. You know, he is a champion.
He's not the ring. He has a lot of. He's got quite a few of like just the straight up greatest plays in NFL history. I think he's got 2 Hail Mary game winners. Like you said, his arm talent is probably number 1 of all time if we just went straight arm talent. So I got Rodgers. What? Maybe Dan Marino.
Elway. I put them ahead of Rodgers.
I got Rodgers over Elway. I think Rodgers could do more in terms of where he was playing the ball.
Elway had a stronger arm, and he could throw a needle just through a narrow passage. How about the famous touchdown against the Browns? Through someone's hands on a dart. Aaron Rodgers, I've never seen do that. I've seen him throw some very nice passes, pretty passes.
Elway had the lasers.
Like Elway
Had the lasers, but
it's
Rodgers
not even close.
Rodgers has the touch on that.
Well,
thing.
let's not.
Yes, he does have touch, but so did Elway. But Elway had a strong arm. You cannot. Don't even. I find that laughable. The arm strength, I would take Elway in a heartbeat.
And I can only go off YouTube highlights because Shane wasn't even born.
I know.
I watched in '98 and '99, but that's about it.
I was at Super Bowl 22 and
can't act like
throw a touchdown pass. Probably 60 yards.
But you can't act like Aaron Rodgers wasn't in his prime laser accurate as well.
No,
like you can't
he is, but the way Connor was kind of selling it is that he the best arm talent ever, and I'm going. No.
I think he's up there. I think
he's up there. Yes,
like you can
put
easily
Elway and Marino ahead of him anytime.
I think you can put Pat up there too. I think there's a couple of guys you can put in that argument, but I think he's at least up there. He's at least fighting for a spot.
Sure. Yeah, so, I think Pat's up there, no question. I think it's Rodgers and Pat for me. Oh, and Jeff George, obviously.
Oh, stop it! Just stop it.
Don't know nothing about that, Shane. You got to do some Jeff George research. Yeah, absolute cannon. All right, let's talk Terry. All right, we got to do a little Commanders talk because Terry McLaurin is seeking a new contract, and he has not been on the field for the activities of the last week. Can I get out in front and just give my take on this first, and then you guys can go? Everybody cool with that?
Yeah, do you think?
I pass it off to you guys, but I feel really strongly about this one. I think if this was the old Commanders, the Snyder Commanders, I think this is a real problem. And I think it's going to drag on, and I think it's going to be a controversy and an issue, and they might lose them with the old Commanders. With the new Commanders, I'm just not concerned. I trust this front office. I trust the GM. I trust Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is a very reasonable guy. I don't see Terry McLaurin pushing for every last cent. And so I just think that both sides are reasonable and want to remain together. And I see Terry McLaurin getting signed at some point this offseason and coming back into the fold, coming off of the best season of his career. They don't want to mess with what Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin have. They want Jaden Daniels' development to be on the up and up. And so I see this getting resolved without much issue. What y'all think?
Go ahead, B. Smith.
I believe his last contract was during the Snyder era. He did sit out. There really wasn't much concern then because they were trying to work something out. He got his 3-year deal worth $68 million. Currently, right now, he's looking at $15.5 million. He is now the 16th highest paid wide receiver. At 15.5, it's comparable. I mean, it's more than double for Jamar Chase, who's making $40 million. I don't know if Terry's going to want to go for that much. I don't think that'll be the case. This is just my humble opinion. If he gets in the $25 to $30 million range, I think the Commanders would be cool with that. Hopefully, it won't mess with the cap too much. But yeah, they want to make sure they take care of him because the numbers are there. He's been a professional, as Dan Quinn has recently said, and he's not even worried about it. So I wouldn't worry about it.
He seems like a one franchise guy. I mean, he was there through all the tough times, and now he's going to leave right when they get good. It's hard to imagine that. 13 receiving touchdowns last year, by the way, which is astounding. Shane?
Never, and also only one season with under 1,000 receiving yards.
That was his rookie year, and he got injured.
Only his rookie year was the only year he had under 1,000 receiving yards, regardless of who was back there throwing the ball. Sam Howell, Case Keenum, aging Alex Smith, Carson Wentz. Good Lord, heavens!
All those numbers with those quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. Like looking at this from like if we were to call ourselves Commanders fans or like Commanders media, I'm not overly concerned. I definitely think this will be resolved. I just think it's weird that it's taking this long to do so. Like, I don't like.
You bring up that it's weird, so here's the question. We talk about him being a one-team guy, consummate professional, leader in the locker room, coming off a career best season. But I believe he's going to be 30 years old. If he is demanding CeeDee Lamb money at 30 years old, is that something that you think the Commanders should do?
How much is CeeDee Lamb making?
CeeDee's in that top tier. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, if he wants
like 35, 40 mil?
35, 40 mil a year. If that's what he's looking for.
If that indeed is what he is looking for, I think it will be probably close to this. I'm just speculating. I think if he gets anywhere near $28, $29 million, I think he's cool with that, comparable to 15 and a half that he's making now. Just to keep this team intact. I'm not saying he's doing the bargain, but I mean, I can't see him asking 35 mil. He could, but
if he sees this as his last big contract, and he's ready to set his family up for generations. And he says, I just had the best season of my career.
Yeah.
Let's go get this bag. JD
Yeah.
Daniels is on the cheap right now on that rookie deal. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
If they get anywhere near 30 to 31 million, 32 million, I think they'll be like, cool, we'll go with it.
Shane?
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it, to be honest with you. I'm doing it because honestly, Terry McLaurin is probably the most underrated receiver in the NFL. He's definitely, in my opinion, he's a top 10 guy in the NFL, in my opinion. He's
one of the most popular Commander players throughout the entire franchise. Terry McLaurin's loved there.
I just think he's I mean, you have a top 10 receiver on your team, top 5 if we're talking about in 50-50 ball situations. He already has a clear chemistry, which is what this offense thrived on, which that was the center of their success really on the way to their first conference championship game in over 30 years. Like I think that's a guy you have to pay, but especially because we're talking about a team that has really one of the biggest budgets this offseason in the Commanders. Right. they have the money,
the resources to go.
Yeah, they have the money to spend, and if you have the money to spend, you have to spend it on the most important places. And I think one of those resources and key spots to spend it on is Terry McLaurin. I think the second part.
Absolutely, you don't want to go into next season with Deebo Samuel as your number 1 receiver.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like having Terry on the field, like without Terry on the field, you don't have a pass catcher on the field that defenses really have to worry about. Like defenses aren't worried about Deebo as a pass catcher per se. Not as a pass catcher. He's not a route runner. He's not a guy who's
carrying the offense for defense. They will be worried. They will. Trust me.
He's not a deep threat like Terry. Like defenses don't have to be like, and if Deebo think about the
plans for him, they'll set it up to where that receiving core is going to be sick.
Right, exactly. Like think about the division they're in alone. Yeah. Like looking at having to play the Eagles and the Cowboys twice a year, you're having Deebo line up across from Quinyon Mitchell and Trayvon Diggs twice a year. This man is getting locked up by Trey Amos in OTAs right now.
No, okay, hold on now.
He's getting locked up, and that's no disrespect to Trey. That's no disrespect. No, listen, let me finish. That's no disrespect to Deebo or Trey, because I told y'all this. Trey is one of my top defensive rookies to look out for this year in terms of my rank tank situations. And I think Deebo is in for a definitely bounce back year from last year. Yeah. But I'm saying if he's getting locked up by a rookie like Trey, you can only imagine what that work will be like coming from a defensive rookie of the year candidate in Quinyon Mitchell, a guy who was elite last year, and then a bona fide Pro Bowler in Diggs. Like, I don't think you're putting your offense in a position to succeed if you're not doing everything you can to make sure that Terry is in a Commander's uniform come this fall.
Let me jump in quick here, B. Smith. I agree with the last sentence that you just said, and I agree with the overall concept of what you're saying. I thought that you were on the brink of cooking there, but here's what I want to make. I want to make a rule for the 13 News Now Sports Overtime podcast right now. Can we make a rule? Can we not make big judgments based on clips from minicamp? Can we not make judgments on Deebo Samuel based on a clip of him running a route in minicamp? Haven't we learned to not? How many times did Ben Simmons put out videos of him making threes in the offseason?
Please don't.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same. That is not the same thing. That is not the same thing.
I also think you're shortchanging Cliff Kingsbury too.
It has to be.
No, well, but I do agree with Shane that this team, I think Terry McLaurin really unlocks this offense quite a bit.
Yeah.
You also,
to piggyback off your point real quick, I do. It does have to be taken with a grain of salt. It is OTAs, no pads, just helmets and shorts. But I mean, still that. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Now we have time, I think, for let's do quick hitters. We just did Terry. I know that Shane, you are highly invested in the Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt situations. I just want to let you cook here on that real quick. Give us your full thoughts. You brought it up to us. It was something that you were looking to talk about. What are you feeling based on defensive end Trey Hendrickson for the Cincinnati Bengals is holding out. He wants a new deal. Same thing with TJ Watt with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The two best players on those respective defenses. Go ahead, Shane.
I mean, I definitely think these are two separate situations. Like I think TJ Watt is sort of in the same boat as Terry. You know, like we know it's going to happen. It is a little weird that it hasn't happened yet, but we know it's going to happen. Tomlin has already expressed, yeah, like we want this to happen. TJ Watt is one of those franchise guys. He's not really looking for a trade, even though some of us think he should, you know, just because of the way the offense is being handled right now in Pittsburgh. But we know that's going to happen. Trey Hendrickson, like, I don't know what Cincinnati is doing. Like, honestly, Cincinnati might be as terribly run of an organization as the Giants right now.
They can't get
like
that.
it's.
I was gonna say the Jets, but okay.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, you know, your defense is depleted. Like, if you're holding off on Trey Hendrickson so you can restart and start from scratch, then to me that means okay, let's make sure Shamar Stewart is signed. But you're not even taking care of your first round rookie. So it's like what are you trying to do? Like, what is the plan?
You don't see that very often where a first round rookie is coming out and telling the media that the Bengals are trying to screw him over. I mean, that just does not come from a rookie very often.
He won't be the first rookie they've done that too, though. They're the Bengals. They've done stuff like that. They're a small city team. Period. They're not New York. They're not LA. They're just not. They've always treated.
And I hear you. Like and they're cheap. The Bengals have a reputation for being cheap. But stepping away from that, when you pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you've got the number one paid receiver in the NFL, and then another one of the top 8 or 9 paid receivers in the NFL. When you have two wide receivers making that kind of money, it's just hard to give out big contracts to other guys.
It is.
But but that's the thing. Like, if you know you have a premier edge rusher, we know the market for edge rushers right now. We know how valuable edge rushers are in today's game. If you know his contract is coming up, why are you giving T. Higgins this market contract?
Now that's a question. Now that's an interesting question.
They're trying to make Joe Burrow happy. That's what it is.
What facts?
Get him O-line.
Joe Burrow
get him some protection. I'm sure that'll make him happy. Give him time to actually throw the ball. You're paying millions of dollars to these elite receivers, but you're also giving him no time to actually get his targets the ball. It just doesn't make sense.
But here's the thing: the offense is not the problem. I mean,
it's not the problem.
So it's like you say,
it could be better. It could be. I mean, it's not like the run game.
It's tough to be much better. I mean, it could be tough to be. They don't need to run the football. They shouldn't be running the football. It would be tough to be much better than that offense was last year. Jamar Chase. Did Jamar Chase win the Triple Crown? And Joe Burrow was one of the best receivers in the NFL, or one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Jamar led the league in receiving. Joe led the league in passing. Yeah.
So you would rather, on this Bengals team, Shane, if you could only keep one, you would rather have Trey Hendrickson than T. Higgins.
Yes, I it's just, I mean, the defense is already the defense was bad with Trey Hendrickson. Like, what do you think it's going to be? And you have no type of pressure whatsoever.
Shane, think about that sentence from a different angle. The defense was bad with Trey Hendrickson. So is he really worth all that money? Is it worth paying him all that money if his presence, the defense is terrible? It was like the worst defense in the NFL, and Trey Hendrickson was there. Is it worth paying him if you're just going to bring back another terrible defense, or do you let him go and try to build depth and try to get better, more solid in other areas? Because it's clear that his presence alone does not guarantee you a league average defense. Even I don't know that I agree with that, but that's the other way to look at it when you say that sentence.
I understand. I understand that logic. I do 100% understand that,
because you're a logical man.
We see how dynamic this, especially their passing game, is, having both Jamar and T on the field together. But at the same time, they're not trying to do that. Like, if they were trying to do what you just said, they would have had a contract for Shamar Stewart already. It's like at that point, if you're not going to shore up your future of the defense in Stewart, like you should have. Well, I mean, they can't do this now because it seems like they can't afford it. But like, if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure you're keeping the best defender you got. Especially, I think, and I also think Sam Hubbard retiring threw them off as well. I don't think they were expecting Sam Hubbard to retire when he did, because that really just put them in a worse predicament. Because now I think you could stand to lose or let Trey Hendrickson walk if you had a vet like Sam Hubbard who could kind of usher in a younger up and coming guy like Shamar Stewart. But
Fair enough.
I don't really see a way forward for this organization right now.
What we do know, I do think they're going to be better this year, and I see the Bengals making the playoffs. I think the offense is going to be too good. But it is time to move on. We have one more topic to cover, because before this podcast, you guys were like, oh, I'm ready a little early, and I sent y'all a text message. And that text message said, I'm at the gym right now. I'm shoulder pressing 50. I just cranked out 6 reps. And Shane got super hyped. He sent me a bunch of these emojis, right?
Yes, sir.
What did you think that I meant?
I was being a supportive friend. I was like, all right, my guy's in the gym trying to get swole or something. I was like, all right, yeah, get to it. Get that work. Yeah, Connor. Yeah.
And I got hyped. And I was really hyped on your response. It was very encouraging. I just want to make sure that you guys know that I did not mean 50s. I meant 50.
1-5? 15?
No, 5-0.
Oh, 5-0.
But just 5-0. Whereas I think maybe you thought I meant a 50 in each hand.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, that was 52.
Huh?
I was wondering why you were so excited.
25 and 25?
Yeah.
Yo,
it was the par. Come on. Try to relax.
I thought 50, man. I thought you were like, yeah.
You thought I had 50 in each
That's
hand.
what I was thinking.
You thought I had a 50 in each hand.
No, he worded that on purpose. He said, oh yeah, I'm putting up 50s for 6.
No, I did not have an S on the text message. I was genuinely confused at how excited you got. I knew there was
putting up one. He was putting up one singular 50.
Well, I got 50. I got the bar.
I don't know.
Okay.
Look. I think you gotta look. Everybody has to start somewhere. I think it's still great progress. It's great progress. I just
Nice
that whole the misunderstanding is.
I knew there was a miscommunication there.
but hey, look.
And then I hopped in the chat, and B Smith started doing a dumbbell motion. I was like, this guy thinks I had a 50 in each hand.
I'm still hyping you up though, Connor. I'm still hyping you up.
I thought you
I feel very high. I feel
we're
super
putting
strong
up 50
right now.
pounds. Let's go, Connor. Yeah.
I feel incredibly muscular in this moment right now. All right, well, I think that's a great place to end it. Let's go. That's another episode of your 13 News Now Sports Overtime podcast / fitness session. We will see you next week for more weights lifted and maybe a 2-2 series. See you then.
Maybe a lift with me by Connor Real as well. Maybe.
That was doing the last 5 minutes. Don't do that.